There we go. All right, folks. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Happy Sunday to you all. We are back for another Stay Hired Sunday. I am Aswan Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division One college football player, and current five, actually soon to be six-time. I'm going to be working on it right. I'm working on literally after we get off this recorded. Soon to be six-time published author and educator. Here with my good friend Kimberly Blue. How you doing today? Thank you for coming on. I saw you had quite the experience this week, and you still made it on. So I appreciate that. I really do.
No problem. Nice to be here. Shout out to my daughter, who is Brittany, who is officially going to boot camp in less than a week for the Navy. So we had a get together for her yesterday. So really proud of her.
Shout out to Brittany. Am
Mhm.
I pronouncing it right?
Brittany, yep.
Shout out to Brittany. Congratulations. We actually, the way we got connected was through some of the work that gets done in the military. One of my best friends that I work with, he's former military. A lot of the things we do in regards to staying hired and teaching folks how to make sure they're adding value. It's coming from what's being taught and learned in the military. So it's fitting. I'm sure it's rewarding for you to have a daughter that's
Yes.
actually going in those footsteps and said, let's get this done. Let's start to get productive with our lives. Let's get to productive with what it is we do. Which brings me to the topic of today's discussion. I'm going to take you guys back about 72 hours ago, recording this Sunday, so Saturday, Friday, and this past Thursday night, there was a networking mixer by my good friend, Mr. Chris Speaks. Shout out to Uncle Smoothie. We can't wait to collaborate with him and some of the other folks. He actually does play-by-play for ESPN with basketball, and I was hitting him up on the football end. So there was a lot of great synergy there. But he and his wife, they have an event. They have it's called a Bloom Social Place, where there's just so much possibilities, so many things from yoga to events to maybe putting on networking mixers, which is what they did Thursday, to hosting a podcast there. He's offered the place for us to do this. And I'm bringing that up because I went to this networking mixer and I haven't gone to one in a while. That's actually something I need to make sure I make a priority as we're now, cannot believe I'm saying this, 6 months into 2025. Where the hell does the time go? I know. You better get on it, folks. You better get on it because time ain't waiting for nobody. But as I was there, I was thinking about, the importance of organizations, business owners, and folks that really want to make something of their company. How do you make sure you're staying engaged with folks that are not just in the business? Because what starts to happen is you get into your business, you get into your job, and then you get really comfortable. You get that money, you
Yep.
get that check coming in, and then you forget about networking. You forget about making sure you're established. I mean, I've heard it said so often that the best time to look for a job is when you really don't need one. The best time to look for a job is when you are pretty established in your place, and then go look for something else and figure out how you can collaborate. So as
Yep.
always, what I go throughout the week, it comes right back to Miss Kimberly Blue, our HR professional here. And when it comes to, I guess the best way to kind of start off the topic today is when you're speaking to clients or you're speaking to people that are trying to kind of get a leg up in the hiring process. How do you sort of talk to them about networking mixers, how to network, what are the things they need to be do, what are the do's, what are the don'ts? Kind of just walk us through a little bit of that, and then we'll go from there.
All right. Sounds good.
Mhm.
We do forget about the networking and we tend to stay where we're comfortable. So we'll network. If we do network, we only network with those that are like us. But what
Mhm.
happens is that you become stagnant. And so a
Yeah.
networking mixer is so great because you have the ability to um, be involved in different areas of business. And just like your workforce being diverse, if you
Mhm.
surround yourself with people younger than you, older than you, different backgrounds, different industries, you will pick up on things that you may have never thought of that'll work for your business, that'll translate to your business that you
Mhm.
got from somebody that may be a banker and you may be in HR, but it can
Mhm.
relate. And so you opened yourself up to a world of possibilities.
Right. And another point I want to add into that is it doesn't just happen at the event. It happens every
After.
single day. Every single day, and what you decide to consume in your own mind, in your own life. I'll give you the perfect example because I told the story when I actually addressed it. I want to make sure I readdress it for you listeners as well, so you understand how you spend your day to day. Eventually, things will connect. All right. So So for those of you who don't know, I teach, and I'm one of the two people in the entire school that can drive the buses, which is honestly some days it's my favorite part of the day because I get to be away from the school and some of my esteemed colleagues. I get a little break from them. No, no, not trying to show any shade at you guys, but so it gives me my peace time, and I go in the bus and I turn on ESPN, kind of my goals and having the ambition and the aspirations of one day being that person that is actually speaking on sports topics and doing some contract work with ESPN, doing play-by-play for football, all the stuff that you guys have heard me talk about a little bit. So the one individual at that time is like 3 o'clock to 4. There's a show that comes on ESPN out here in West Palm Beach called Theoretically Speaking with Theo Dorsey. All right, Theo Dorsey, remember that name because I walked into the networking mixer this past Thursday and they were all in a circle and everyone's introducing themselves. And I walked right next to a person, and guess who the person is? It's Theo Dorsey standing right
Wow,
next
cool.
to me. He's standing right next to me. And it wasn't until he started talking I realized, wait a minute, I listen to you, right? And then the thing is, it was great because we got into like some fun banter because I really actually listened to his takes, and I started talking about some sports takes that I disagreed with, and then we are having some fun a little bit, and we already started to get to a place. And I'm bringing all this bringing it up not to brag, but to let you guys know, hey, when you're going to these events, you're not there to kiss ass. You're there to genuinely connect with folks and get to know people and make it so it doesn't have this uncomfortable feeling where you're trying too hard to connect, and that's important as well. So when you're looking at it from the HR's perspective, I've seen things where it's so hard for them to break through this kind of corporate professional tone that feels forced. It feels forced. Like
Yes.
I've been to some where you're talking over the person, you're trying to give them this card, that person's trying to give them this card, this one's telling them your resume, everyone's talking over each other, and it ultimately becomes ineffective and people don't want to come back. So how do
Right.
you merge it? How do you get a nice blend where you're creating an environment where people feel safe, or I don't say safe, but feel very open to speak to each other and talk to each other so they're not overstepping the boundaries and it feels too pushy, is what I'm saying.
So really, it's up to the organizer to set that up,
Yes,
right? So,
1000%.
because they set the tone. So if they set the
Mm-hmm,
tone to where bring business cards and,
mm-hmm,
I would do it as a get together, a meeting
mm-hmm.
of the minds, a place where you can talk about your struggles in a safe space. Use the
Mm-hmm.
exact word because a lot of times business owners are afraid to be open because,
Yeah,
oh, I don't want anybody to think I'm failing. But
right.
that's not it. You can't get the help that you need or the advice that you need, which is what it's for, is to
Yeah,
create these meaningful connections unless
right,
you're authentically yourself. And
right.
so it starts with the organizer to set the expectations
Mm-hmm,
and then let it happen naturally,
right.
because if you're having authentic conversations and I
Mm-hmm,
would start maybe with some prompters.
mm-hmm.
Tell me about your 3 wins and tell me about your 3 losses this past quarter.
Right,
And
right.
then I want someone else to say, what their wins, but then give advice to that person of
Mm-hmm.
and then that'll get the conversation going in the right direction.
Yeah, so there's a couple points I want to make on this because the lady I interviewed her this past when actually it was Thursday. Yeah, it was a full day Thursday because I interviewed a lady named Danielle McCubb. I want to make sure I do not get the name wrong. I do not want to make sure I do not get the name wrong. All right, Danielle. Shout out to Danielle. Yep, I had it right. Danielle Mulvey. All right, I interviewed her, and she does. It's some incredible work with a great author named Mike Michalowicz who wrote the book Profit First, which I've spoken about on multiple occasions. And she was telling me that she has this system called 5-star employees. Again, ever since listen, there's a lot of HR folks I've been running into ever since we've been doing this. So they've been messaging me, and I'm now talking the language. I'm feeling like I'm getting better. I'm like, yeah, I know my lingo now. I know what I'm talking about now, right? So anyway, she
I'm
has
glad I've
this.
been able to help you get your
Yeah,
MBA in
yes,
HR.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, the interviews are getting a whole lot better. But anyway, we were talking on a podcast this past weekend. It'll be on actually July 4th. But she was saying that she doesn't go about. I believe it's one of her engineering company, no, the healthcare industry. She doesn't go about telling students that that they need a claims adjuster or something like that. She will just say we need people who love math majors, and then as they come in, They're going to get the process and get the understanding that just that title, that's just a title, but you're going to be doing a lot of math in this role. And then that pulls them in. And I'm bringing that up because there were several networking events. I might be losing. Give me a second. Bear with me. Bear with me. I am. All right. Are you hearing me now? Good.
Yeah.
All right, cool, yeah, because I can see when the Wi-Fi fades. But I'm bringing, where's our Daniel? Yeah, so I'm bringing this up because there's several networking events I've gone to, and I mean, more than you guys probably understand me know. The first one I went was actually at the Nationals Park. Then I went to one when I got out here in Miami with the Miami Heat. Went to a few with the Dolphins. This was after I was working with the Dolphins and all that kind of stuff. And the thing about it is when you set the tone, it really does make a difference in the actual event. So there was one time where the person who organized the event for the Washington Nationals, and this was a crowd of like younger college graduates looking to break into sports, she goes, "Everyone, look at me. You're not going to get hired today. All right, you're not going to get hired today. Just accept it. Right? You're not going to get hired today. Right now, go to the panels, go to the people that have, sacrificed their time, dedicated their time to be there, ask questions, take notes, get some cards, and just take the information and go with it." I went to the Miami Heat one, and there was another guy who got up there and said, "Look, if you can't put a number to your name, like this is how much I sold X, Y, and Z, then there's no point you even talking to me because we're about how much you can sell." So every single tone, every single part of where you're going to be, you have to really ask yourself, organizer and the person that's hoping to get people back, what is it that you're looking to attract? You can't just have people showing up and wanting a job or wanting more money because, hey, newsflash, you're not going to get a short of people that want that. But the
No.
disappointment that comes when it comes to who organized it, all of that is going to fall on your shoulders. I mean, I even went to one in IMG, which is a similar one. IMG, so IMG is a big Under Armour school. And at the time I was working with a company named FBU, and they have Adidas. So I made the approach. I'm like, "Hey, do you do anything with FBU?" The guy tells me, "No, not at all. Don't even bring it. If you show Adidas around here, we're losing our contract with Under Armour." So again, all of this stuff came up because I went out, learned, had the conversations, and then we moved forward. So, I know I'm rambling a lot here, but when it comes to organizers, let's dive a little bit more into organizing the right event based on what you want to get out of your company, based on what your goals are and things like that. So I'll give you the floor a little bit to speak on it.
So, you can organize I could go right now and organize a get together.
Mm-hmm.
But first, before you do that, you have to find out what people are looking for. Because if you don't know what your people are looking for, you're not going to have people come. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then once you get that and gather that information, then you're going to set the intent. You have to be intentional about what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't have a goal, how can you work to get there if you don't have it? So when
Right.
you set the intention, then you can build a plan and then have a successful event. But it all starts with what outcome do you want? How do you get
Mm-hmm.
there? And the people that you're inviting, what
Yes.
do they want? And how do you get there? And how do you blend the two together?
Right.
And so you have to approach it from both sides because the intent is not me, I need everything for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's what can I give first? And if I learn something and in the process, that's great. But you have to for me, the intent is to help others. And always without fail, I always learn something new.
Mm-hmm.
I'll use you and I, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have similar thought processes, right?
Right.
But your lens is different,
Mm-hmm.
and you relate it to sports. And I've learned a lot from that, not
Yes.
necessarily just about sports, but about the process and how it helps. And so that helps me grow too. So
Exactly.
you can definitely find that great mix just by being intentional in what you plan.
All right. Cool. Yes. And final point I'll make on that, and then we'll get into the questions because I do want to be very respectful of your time. I know you had quite the week. So I will also explain to you guys as business owners, hardest thing you're going to do as an organization is getting the people right. All right. The hardest thing you're going to do is getting the people right, because if you go the traditional route of hiring and you don't make sure you're engaging, the great employees that you do find, when they found out how great they are, You know what they're going to do? They're going to go move on and start their own businesses and ask themselves why they're even paying you. Seeing it all the time in the fitness industry. I mean, trainers will be making 6 figures plus, but have to give a percentage back to the gym. They would tell me all the time, you get to a point where it's just like, why? Why do I keep paying for an owner when I could go and get the clients myself? All right. And when you get great people, eventually you use them, and then you have to keep replacing them and keep replacing them. That's another thing me and Daniel spoke about, is the amount of money it costs to actually replace these people on a regular basis. You are going to be, your profits eventually will absolutely evaporate. Will
Yes.
absolutely evaporate. So let's get into the questions now real quick. They're going to be kind of probably answered a few of these as we talk, but we'll kind of reorder it or re-emphasize whatever needs to be re-emphasized. So number one, how can network and mixers support our employee engagement and retention goals? I think we pretty much answered that. The retention goals have to be very clear, though. You have to have a percentage on what you want them to be, what the actual goal is. A lot of you business owners probably don't have it written down what your retention goals are. I could guarantee that you don't have it. I guarantee the majority of you listening to me right now don't have your retention goals written down somewhere that you can look. You have to have them written down in order for you to proceed with this process. So if you want to add anything, go ahead.
I'm gonna add something to that because I was just thinking about a situation when I went to a networking event, and I'm very out of the box thinking for solutions, right, for people.
Mhm,
And one of the things that I did and partnered with another business is that both of our businesses were very seasonal. Okay, so
mhm,
during the season of the summer, I needed people, you know, a lot of people, and then from spring to fall, and then their business was fall into winter into January. And
mhm,
so we worked together and came up with a plan, and this is how we retained people, is that what we would do is when their season ended, I picked them up. And so we saved a ton of money by doing this, and it worked
exactly.
for 5 years. And
Exactly.
so I would pick them up, and when my season was over, they would transition back to them, and we did this for multiple years. We
Exactly.
had engaged employees. They were excited to get the differences because it was a different business,
Hmm.
and long tenured employees after that. So,
Exactly.
when you think about meeting, think about solutions and what is your problem,
Hmm.
and listen to what others are saying, because in there, you might find a solution for multiple
Right.
people.
Right. All right. Next question. What criteria should we use to select or organize networking mixers that align with our company culture and value? I'm going to go back to what I said when it comes to Danielle. It's understanding, yeah, there's a lot. You need a specific, stay away from titles. We'll say it like this: stay away from a title and more so focus on the skill of a person. So if you have someone that's a math major, just, put it out there. We're looking for math majors to do whatever. And then when they get in there, they're going to say, all right, now you're a claims adjuster and do that. But they didn't, if you just say, I'm looking for a claims adjuster, that math major might not be interested in even applying for it, because they're assuming whatever they've never heard of the position before. So stay away from the titles and most of focus on, like it says, the values that you're looking to create.
Yep. If you focus on titles, it's number one. We say if you achieve an elevated
Hmm.
title because you worked so hard for it, congratulations. It is good for you and showing your the hard work that you put in. However, when you're
Hmm.
talking about engaging with employees or networking, you need to take the
Hmm.
titles away, because I can learn from the janitor just as well as I can a
Yes.
CEO. And if you
Yeah.
concentrate on titles only, you are missing out on valuable resources.
Yes, you really are. I see it all the time. I see it all the time when people do not show enough respect for the folks that are doing the little jobs. But those people that are doing these little jobs, I'm telling you, they're outpacing the folks that are chasing these titles and just even have the mindset of, I'm only going to act a certain way because so and so's in the room and because so and so said this. I'm telling you right now, you're losing that fight. You will not be around for long. You will smell it on you, and it will move on real quick. Move on real quick. All right. So number three, how do we measure the effectiveness of ROI of participating in hosting networking mixers? ROI is a big one, folks. ROI is a incredibly, incredibly big one, because you as an owner, you have got to make sure that the money is continuously coming in, that the profits are coming in, And whatever you do, you have got to see the return on the damn investment. Don't just decide. Again, these are small things, because I could see a lot of folks who are trying to show off, and instead of them paying to have, or they pay more to have a certain type of wine at a mixer, as opposed to maybe putting that money towards a free ticket so the right people comes in, a free ticket for this specific bid. All sorts of things come up when you're talking about measuring ROI, but you got to be very honest about what your situation is if you're going to make it effective.
Mhm. Look to drive impact. And if you're
That's
not
pretty much all I do.
driving impact for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
huh? So if you don't drive impact, then don't do it. And if you're not getting anything in return that's not valuable, stop doing it, because all you're doing
Mm-hmm.
is wasting time and resources.
Yes. And number 4, we kind of already answered this one. Can these mixes help us with recruitment efforts? And if so, how should we position our company during them? That's actually a great. I know actually a company that I shout out to Cheryl Plouffe. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. She was actually on the show too. And they have a cruise of business owners, entrepreneurs. They have a cruise in which they bring everybody on. They pay some for hold on, let me make sure. They pay some for the cruise, and then they, as they go on, it's just entrepreneurs, and they're talking, and they're connecting, and they're collaborating, and all that stuff. So I think that's pretty cool. Like, when it comes to where you do it, it's pretty awesome as well. What are the best practices to ensure that team represents the company professionally, inclusively at these events? That is 1,000% on you as an owner. Okay, you know what your company's trying to represent. You know who you want included. You know who it is. You feel it, and that's going to be on you to place your business in the right environment for these things. So that's all I have.
It's your job as a leader
Mm-hmm.
to make new leaders and to
Yep.
teach them what you want to see. So the ownership's
Exactly.
on you.
Exactly. And that's officially where we will drop the mic today. Again, appreciate you guys for tuning in. This has been an unbelievable ride. We are actually going to be approaching a year pretty soon here of doing these. And my network, speaking of network, my network personally has grown immensely. My ability to speak the HR language per se has grown incredibly. So thank you, Kimberly, for all the work you do. I'm looking forward to. I'll be next time in the DMV. Trust me, we will get together.
Absolutely.
So we definitely got to collaborate on that. You make sure you'll go out and get some rest, and I appreciate you willing to do this. So
absolutely, we
all
are
right,
consistent around here. We'll see you next time. Have a great week.
see you next time. Have a great week, guys.